Morning. Hey, this is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. It's Sunday morning, the 17th of November, and I think it's about time that I give you a report on what went down last Wednesday. We had a hearing up in Missaukee County, and the hearing was to determine whether or not the county judge would allow the state, the DNR, to take the trial out of Missaukee County to the state capital, to Lansing, to where their judges are. It was their third attempt, and the Judge Fagerman, said no. He said no to their stay, and he said, "Don't ask me again." It was their third attempt, so they got whooped up on pretty good. That was a victory for us, but it was overshadowed with what I'm about to tell you. The day before we went to our hearing, that's rain. It's starting to rain out. Senate Bill 652 was passed into law. It was signed by Governor Rick Snyder. 652 enables the state to force guys like me that are suing them to have to take it to the appellate court. So that means that it's a four-judge court, and you got to get on their schedule, and it's tough. It's really tough. And then it goes from there right to the Supreme Court. So it's really tough, and a lot of people are not sure that Senate Bill 652 is going to work in the best interests of citizens that are being trounced by the state. And I'm here to tell you that what happened Wednesday was the attorneys from the DNR, who didn't show up in court, by the way, they just called in, informed Judge Fagerman, well, even though you wouldn't give us the stay, we are still going to seek removal of this case to Lansing via Senate Bill 652. And that there is no doubt that is what they plan to do. They even stated it in an email later on the next day. So that is the plan of the state. They will not go to court and have a fair fight that's based on the merits of this case. They will not do that. So they have chosen just take any route they can to stretch this out and run us out of money. That's been their strategy since the beginning, because their case, their whole reason for doing this, not only is it totally fabricated, they don't have a good argument. They can't really make a very good argument. So this is what we're looking at so far. We had opening day of deer season day before yesterday. In the state of Michigan, there were zero feral swine kills. Zero, not one. And so that tells you something about the 1,500 to 10,000 feral swine that they say that we have this huge problem with, that we have to eradicate, and that's why they're doing this whole feral swine initiative. The other thing is we wanted to get their guy, Dr. Jack Mayer. He's the guy whose name is smattered through the declaratory ruling. We want to bring him to Missaukee County, and let's hear what he has to say about feral swine in the north. Because in his book, he says that there are no feral swine in the north, but yet the DNR is quoting him in writing this declaratory ruling and saying that he says that there are some problems that need to be eradicated. And that's not what his book says, so we want to get him on the stand. But of course, the DNR has dug their heels in right up to their knees on this one, and we have to have another hearing, which is coming up this Wednesday. But I think that's good, because then we can talk about some other issues that we want to nail the state down on this. So here's what we have right now. The state has passed this Senate Bill 652, and they are going to use that to take my case, or our case, out of Missaukee County, out of the local jurisdiction, and move it to Lansing, where they have their own judges and their own system down there, and they get what they want down there. that's not the way our system is designed to be. You know, when I talked before about the slippery slope of regulatory agencies making law and then using their own police force to enforce those laws, I hope that that hits home to you, how dangerous that is and what type of government we are heading towards with this state government. But now if you sue the state, right, when you go the route that I have gone, you know, the very expensive, very time-consuming, very sacrificial route to sue the state, now you have to sue them at the appellate court level, which it will take you 6 months before they even look at it. You're not going to be in your hometown, and the state can take their sweet time to string it out, and you will never win at that level. So it is a sad day. It is a sad day. There is light at the end of the tunnel, all right? It's dim. But I've got to tell you something that helps me through times like this, and it's something that a good friend of mine told me. He said, when the going gets tough and it looks like you ain't going to make it, you got to get plain mad dog mean. Because if you give up, you neither win nor live. And that's just the way it is. That good friend of mine is Clint Eastwood. And he said that in the movie The Outlaw Josie Wales. And I think about that a lot. I think about who Josie Wales was. And that's who we need to be. There's no doubt in this struggle who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. This is not Democrat, Republican. This is not liberal, conservative, any of that baloney. And that's what all that is. That's baloney. This is us against them. And it's a very small handful of people that want to tell us how to live and then want to take as much money from us as they possibly can. They're fleecing us. There's never been a time that I can think of through this entire struggle for you to get mad dog mean. But now is the time, because if they are able to just take this case out of our court in the local jurisdiction, what good is the court? And where does that end? Where does that end? Now you got to know that there's nobody standing behind me on this. If my farm goes down, that's going to set precedence for the rest of the United States. And small farming will be a thing of the past. Why? Because regulatory agencies like the DNR, DEQ, MDA, DOT, they can come up with cockamamie rules like straight tails, curly tails all day long. And us farmers will have absolutely no recourse. Right now we do. If we win this one, this will set precedence. And the precedence needs to be, better not mess with farmers, because they bite back, and we do. So what are we going to do? I think we better start ringing the phones of Mr. Schuette, our Attorney General, and inform him that we're not happy with this. And you know what? You need to ring his phone until they can no longer do business at their office. That phone needs to be ringing constantly. Thousands of emails. The governor's office, thousands of emails. Ring that phone constantly over the next 2 weeks. Just keep ringing the phone. And look, there's 1,000 people that look at my videos as soon as I put them out. That's not enough. That's not enough. We're not going to win with 1,000. They're already looking at this. The first people to see this video is going to be the people at the AG's office. They probably won't see it today because it's Sunday and they don't work on Sunday. But, and they're going to say, he's only got 1,000 people watching. Disregard. Disregard those citizens. That's what they'll say. It needs to be 10,000. It needs to be 100,000 people. And it needs to be across this great land of ours. Because if we don't do something now, it's not going to be a great land of ours. Your choices are going away. Because the government is doing the bidding of Big Ag, right? They're doing the bidding of the corporations. That's just the way it is. And now it's time to get mad dog mean. All right, that's about all I got to say right now. Some of our legislators are not happy with this, but we'll see where that turns out. We'll just see where that turns out. I don't know what to say about that. I've received phone calls, but I have nothing in writing about how unhappy they are. We'll see. We'll just see. And I would say that in the districts around us, it would be a good thing to call your state senator and your state rep and say, what are you doing? You know, what do you think you're doing here? You cannot disallow people the right to do commerce. You cannot allow the Attorney General to levy a $700,000 fine against a citizen. That's a clear violation of the 8th Amendment. You need to call my county sheriff and say, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing what you were sworn to do? Now is the time, folks. There's nobody behind me. I go down, that's it. So now is the time. I will inform you what goes on this Wednesday. Until then, get mean.